And the clerk, please take the roll.
Brewer.
Here.
McKee.
Here.
Manny.
Here.
Glassburner.
Here.
Jensis. Turk.
Here.
Frank.
Here.
Williamson.
Here.
Fleming.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Is the meeting properly noticed?
Yes, Mr. Chair, the meeting is properly noticed.
We have before us a 14-point agenda. Just to take a look at it, do we have a motion to approve the agenda? Motion by Manning, second by Glassburner to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye. Aye. And we also have minutes from the August 15th meeting. Chance to check those out. We have a motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by McKee. Second. Second by Williamson to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
This is to item number 6, discussion and possible action on removal of trees on campus. Our recent walking tour, we can see there are some in very bad shape.
So the discussion between Mr. Winchell and myself has been, how do we do it, and Derek, how do we do it properly? So that we're not violating anything, getting anyone in trouble, and we have determined that when the committee is ready to recommend to us that we should advertise for removal, we will do so in the paper for a period of 2 weeks, see if there are any interested parties, and then bring said parties back to the committee. And we will do it for the wood. That as payment.
Is timeline wise, is that something we want to move on fairly quickly?
That's my ask tonight is how does the board wish for us to proceed?
Many members, what do you think?
Make sure you specify as far as the stump, and when you say for the wood, I would find out. That's the big pieces, but not doing some. So if you get all that done.
So take the stump, make sure it's all cleaned up, branches and everything, it's gotta be completely.
Because I will do for them, or just to.
Specify how far below grade the stumps are being ground to, but there is a party around here that's advertised grinding stumps. He doesn't want to dull his blades in the dirt, so when he leaves, you still have a partial stump sticking out of the ground. It might only be half an inch, but it's still out of the ground. So they should grind at least like 6 inches below grade.
Isn't this all best done when the ground is frozen?
Correct.
That's the only way I'd have time anyway.
Less
Yeah,
damage.
right now, the ground is freezing.
Get it out now.
Yep.
So committee, do we want to instruct them to proceed with getting the notices published and see if we can get something to do on that?
I'll have to get a better total on number of trees, because there's sort of half maple trees that are gonna have to go.
Okay.
It's another sheet, there's like 28 ash and there's like 3 maples, and then we'll get the total number that I'll get to Mr. Window, so that, if that's what you're gonna want, a total number.
I make a motion that we.
Forward to that process.
Okay.
Okay, motion by Brewer, second by Manning to move forward with a solicitation of proposals for removal of trees. Supervisor Williamson will work to get Attorney Wendell the exact number. Further discussion on that? Was all in favor, say aye. Anyone opposed? Thank you very much. On to number 7, vendors for campus facilities assessments.
Okay, so John has been speaking with
Johnson Controls on the energy side of it.
And then he also arranged a call and we spoke with, the company is called Zimmerman, but it's several firms under one umbrella. So if you want to.
One of the firms is Venture, and Venture is coming up tomorrow. I'm gonna spend some time with them. And, no promises, no guarantees to that, but at least having a conversation with them will open up ideas for us. And they can take a look at mechanical, structural, energy efficiency that might have to be, whether it's a subcontractor, but environmental, all those things. We just want to get more information from them, and I asked them as long as they were here, if they wouldn't mind walking through both the human services facility and the courthouse. So that is our intent to do tomorrow.
So we'll be on site at 11:30.
Mr. Reddick, you had a question.
John, have you mentioned or brought up maybe, is there a statute on if we do a breaking point on extent of remodeling, that we would have to install fire protection?
We have not had that conversation.
I'm just saying we should keep it in the back of our minds.
Yeah,
That would be significant.
and I'm sure that this firm is aware. You know, because what I said to them, that no decisions have been made and that everything is on the table. So it's wide open.
And we did have that conversation that we understand that retrofitting is more expensive than repairing what is standing. So they know our eyes are wide open on this, that we really want an honest evaluation of where things are at and the best possible way to move forward in a financially responsible way.
And possibly, you know, if we were to do something, let's say for county facilities, that there could be a phased-in approach. So they're gonna take a look at everything.
Questions from the committee?
I would just add that I have no idea, and I'm sure I won't know tomorrow, any idea on what cost would be, but I think it was going to open our eyes when we see that.
Mr. Chair, do they go beyond mechanicals? I mean,
They do,
they're looking
yeah.
Structural,
Zimmerman has been around for quite some time, and they've acquired several other firms, and they said they also do landscaping architecture. So they do a wide variety of things.
I was thinking of roofs. We do use another firm, not small ones. These are I wouldn't buy it, probably be younger. Have that covered.
So the plan would be to bring back any more information. Good questions. So we move on to item number 8. Transfer of education standing committee duties to the public works standing committee. We're talking about as far as responsibility for the facility, correct? We would need to bring a motion to the board to have that responsibility for the facilities transferred to public works.
I make that motion, I like that.
So we have a motion to go ahead and bring that forth to the full board.
One second.
Second from Keith, just. Further discussion.
This will require a change in the
An amendment to the committee
management
structure.
documents. Let's do that.
It's not the first time that this issue has been raised. When Clint first brought this issue to my attention, my question was frankly, why do we have an education committee? You know, through the campus, since the president's announcement, I've learned a lot more about what they've done historically. I have a lot of respect for the passion and the advocacy of the community. I really do love this campus. But nothing ever convinced me that this was something that needed to be under the auspices of an education committee. You may recall that they were also responsible for evaluating dogfight claims against the county, so I think it was maybe just like a legacy concern, but I did raise that concern, and it's the campus and then some of the highway buildings that were not under the auspices of public works, with the highway department now being under that committee, that solves that problem. So this is the only problem child.
And at this time, what we're looking is just to transfer the responsibility of the facility as we look at, you know, our reorganization. Next time we'll do the whole committee issue.
Does that do anything to the agreement of understanding we have with the
The committee overseeing the agreement is not named in the agreement. So I would imagine it's a simple removal of the line in the education section of the committee structure document, and then a revision of the line in the public works document. I need to take another look at it because it just, I think the exceptions are just unless otherwise specified by these rules or statute. So I think if we remove that section from the education committee, then that will automatically assume.
And I would add, if I could, Mr. Chair, this, and maybe some of the committee members haven't seen this yet, but this afternoon we emailed a questionnaire to the whole county board. You know, what we think is working well and maybe perhaps not so well. So we wanted to get that out as early as we could, because depending on the feedback that we get, that may, if we're making some changes with board rules, we may be making other changes if the board is interested in moving forward. So that's, yeah, that. And we'll talk about that in the board meeting as well. We'd like to get that feedback as soon as we possibly can.
We've got a motion in a second. Any further discussion? Is all in favor of moving forward with that change, say aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? Number 9, prioritization of campus winterization needs.
Well, at this point, as we all know, everything is up in the air. And so we are concerned with how we prepare the buildings for winter, who is going to be doing that, all of those things. And so, you know, getting someone in to do a walkthrough and do an evaluation will be helpful. But we may have to bring some recommendations and act fairly quickly if the time should come where it's all of a sudden put on us to do those things. As of right now, it is not typically being done by us. But as we all know, through this process, things could change. So, you know, we're preparing, we have, you know, adjusted the budget for that possibility so that we're ready and it doesn't saddle the county with the hardship that we weren't anticipating.
Probably winterize it now, just like she.
That we don't know. There's water, there's,
Yeah.
you know.
Well, it's
so-
been a use up to this.
Right,
It's-
there's always been some,
Maybe blowing up the pipes and all that one.
well, that's what we don't know. That's what we really need to ask someone who it's their area of expertise. You know,
It's not feasible.
when you have a building of this size or buildings of this size, this scope, what is the best way to prepare it for winter?
Various winter issues out here, like ice falling off the road, things like that, so. Just being prepared.
It's a question that will ask.
It's really not feasible, to winterize stuff like this. You'd have to pump all, you couldn't blow it out, you would have to pump all the lines full of antifreeze. And then the heating systems are water, you'd have to put antifreeze in there. I guess you could get estimates on it, but it'd really be, and then to get somebody to stand behind it.
Yeah.
When you turn it on in the spring and there's water spraying out all the walls. They're gonna look at you and go, oh, no, we'll winterize it, but we're not gonna stand behind it.
That's what I'm.
I can't even winterize my deer hunting cabin, so.
It's, I think it'd be hard pressed to find somebody to do it. I can't provide any warranty.
You might have to look at what it would take just to keep them minimally heated and protected.
Well, and this will play into our discussion that we're going to have on Tuesday in closed session as well. There are other topics.
Mr. Sears.
So on that heating aspect, somebody's gotta be out here, if we keep the temperature at like 6 to 5 degrees in the winter, like we better have somebody out here all the time or some type of alarm set up when that furnace breaks, that it doesn't start. We don't check it for a day or two.
Presently, do they have anyone based here full time or is it just somebody checking?
Two people here part-time, but they make sure that every day somebody walks through each of the buildings. Make sure that the doors are unlocked, lights are locked down, everything's working properly. Somebody, I think they do it more than once a day.
Okay.
So it-
they have keys.
Yes.
Keeping the facility secure would be a concern too. Anytime there's been a big property in the city, you get people squatting.
that's part of why they have a staff checking things every day to ensure all doors are locked and secured, especially after we had the incident where one wasn't. And because of the water issue, walking through, making sure, you know, and again, as long as that continues, we're probably okay. It's just the unknown of situation.
It will be some help also, that extension will be back here.
How's the setup as far as, let's say we rented a particular building, or the meters set up where we could charge them a lot of rent? That they've got to pay for the heat, and water, and that building?
That you'd have to do with Zimmerman, because I think some of them, the answer to the question is no, because some of the buildings are tied together underground, and then some of them have their own boilers. So it would be on a building by building basis.
That's what the analyzation.
Well, I mean, I said rather winterize it if we could rent.
Oh, no, we won't be good. We're a long way from.
I'm not to put you down, it's not there yet.
You'd be better off at that time, Gary, just on the lease or the rent, including utilities or something like that.
We don't even have it back here.
Well, and at this point, Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, but the agreement is still valid.
Yes.
These buildings have not been turned back over to us to use as we see fit. And so at this point, there would have to be then some sort of agreement with the university directly, not with us necessarily. So there's a lot of moving pieces at play that can dictate what we can and can't do until at which point we have resolved the issue with the plan.
Are we getting any more?
We're gonna talk about it on Tuesday.
Mr. Severson.
I guess that brings up another thought that I had, like, if it's their responsibility, they're still leasing and that, where does neglect come in, like where they may fail to do, something breaks due to them not maintaining stuff and now we're responsible? Or how do we get?
It would be a fact dependent determination. And I took it out for one minute. I'd have to review the language of it. I know certain maintenance falls to us under the terms of the agreement. And theoretically, a claim could be made that, oh, well, because of deferred maintenance or whatever, you know, it wasn't our neglect in a short period of time that caused this incident. It was the overall ill repair of the building. There are a number of outcomes that I could foresee. But it is not, I'm not saying that an argument couldn't be made that based on what damage we observe or what have you, that we could claim that they are basically bad tenants. I mean, it's the same as a tenant taking a hammer to the wall in an apartment. Like if they were clearly the cause of damage to buildings that we own.
Questions and answers at this point, but that's where we are. Moving on to item 10 then, reconfiguration proposal submittal process. Speaking of things we're not ready for yet.
Well, and that was what John and I discussed. Although we do wish to have a submittal process, at this point, we don't even know what that submittal process would be for. So until at which point we've had the chance to evaluate all the buildings, determine the sustainability of the buildings, the utilization, whether or not we can continue, it's just a preemptive, move to try to develop a process. So it's on our minds, we're thinking about it, but again, until we kind of know exactly what we are dealing with, it's really hard to formulate what that should look like.
Very good. We'll have a process when the time is right, and it's not yet. Any questions on that from anybody? All right, then we move into item 11, which is reports, status of the condition of the campus. Attorney Wendell, kind of lit into some of that.
That we have, and with the tour of the facility, and you guys have moved and prodded into things. I don't have the expertise that some of you do, so you probably know more. I would just say that, you know, I appreciate this committee. I believe very strongly in the philosophy of hope for the best, prepare for the worst. I think there's no real other way to say it. I think this committee, the board, would be derelict in its duty as stewards of the public trust were you not to have a plan in place for negotiations to end in screw it, we're both walking away, do with the buildings what you want. I think that planning has started, that, as much as we can with the questions that still exist, we're taking steps to make productive use of this in the event that there is a significant change to the use of the building, but I just really advocate for continued planning, contingency planning. And obviously I'll discuss this more in the session on Tuesday, but just the terms of the agreement themselves do not offer for a lot of flexibility. And so we're basically writing the document from the ground up again. Let's get some ideas into what we may want included and not in this committee's plan.
So for the current status, is it correct to say that as it stands right now, we don't have control over these facilities directly? Any uses have to be approved by the UW system?
That is correct. So if we put out an advertisement that said, give us proposals for uses of the building, we would need to basically involve Platteville in that conversation because they would need to approve any submitted use. That's a particularly viable option, especially.
All right. Questions for Attorney Wendell they might be able to answer in an open session? Ongoing efforts. Looking ahead now to item 12 and setting future meeting dates. With what we have going on, when does it make sense for us to meet?
My suggestion is that follow the chair because we just really don't.
That was kind of what I was thinking, to set a date 2 or 3 weeks from now, we wouldn't know significantly more than we know right now. And so would everybody be comfortable with that when we get some answers, we'll call the next meeting? And yes, again, we are going to meet again, we're waiting for answers on a lot of things right now.
And I would like to state that the fact that we have this committee is significant. It's here, we're doing something. So you're right, we can't set a next date, but we are doing something.
Would it be one this month or next?
I don't see one this month for sure. Say next month at the earliest. And again, depending on what we find out, how quick we find it out, if something changes in negotiations suddenly, or if we get big news one way or another from the folks who walk through here. We would probably have to meet if we get a bid of trees that we need to approve. Would that fall to Public Works then?
Honestly, it's probably more properly done through Public Works. Yay. I haven't thought about it, but actually, I would recommend this committee make a recommendation to Public Works. So we can just, luckily, we have the chair here, so we can just take it over again.
Cool. It could be a number of things. It could be that all of a sudden we're ready to do an RFP for, mechanical, environmental, all of those.
Right.
So when will that report, when they come and look at the mechanicals, when are they gonna get back to us and what did they?
I don't necessarily foresee them providing a written report because we have not engaged them yet.
So they're gonna look at it, they're gonna give us comments.
I assume they'd probably tell us how much it would cost to do a full assessment.
They probably will.
Right, and then we'll have to go through the whole process, so we're months away. Unless,
And the
We
board doesn't
meet.
change it.
and we meet, boom, boom.
And the board doesn't meet.
So we got,
Well, we have in the past
Well,
years.
we-
Last 2 years, I think.
Steve, are you saying this committee needs to meet more or quickly in order to make that?
no, we may have to leave the Public Works, depends on whoever gets presented. We're gonna get proposals from probably up to 3. We're hoping it's 3 different people to do the walkthrough, give us a basic assessment.
Yep.
But where's that coming back? Here?
So
Mike?
right now, I view this committee's responsibility as future looking. The Public Works, assuming this transfer of responsibility goes through, deals with the campus as it is.
Then we're too late to get it on Tuesday's agenda next week or not?
No.
24 hours. We don't have some. Okay, so.
Then
Then
we answer to Derek in the parking lot later. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mr. Chair, I just need to clarify. So we're just looking to see who can give walkthroughs and give an initial assessment. Then we're planning on engaging with one of them to give us a formal assessment, a written assessment at that point?
We'll have to do an RFP.
Okay, and then that report would come back to this committee at some point, correct?
Yes,
Yes.
for planning purposes and perhaps to Public Works if there are immediate needs identified.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and then, yeah, if they could even say they can do it in October. We're already almost halfway through. We are.
none of this will affect our plans for winterizing though, I mean, because it sounds like. it's gonna have to-
Well, we'll have to have a plan for what we're gonna do now, and then if we get the transfer of responsibility, that'll be Public Works that looks at how we do that.
Technically, you're just needing like an emergency plan for winter in case they say, boom, then we got to act.
Yeah, that's a plan for winter is probably a better thing to call it than a winter.
Yeah, because involved in that would be snow plowing.
Yep.
Like you said, there's been ice that's fallen off and so.
Yeah, and if the buildings aren't gonna be actively used, how much do you need to keep clear? And of course, you'd have to maintain access for emergency vehicles if it catches on fire. It'd be the right building.
Are they still paying the utilities until the official transfer?
Yes.
As of this moment.
Yes.
Then we don't need to worry about
As of this moment.
That's exactly it. What we are planning for is the what if. What if tomorrow everything stops? And what does that cost look like? And what do those responsibilities look like? So those are the conversations we've already been having. Those are the questions we've already been asking. And those are the things that we've already been planning for. Should we have to come back to this committee and say, okay, here's where it's at and here's what we propose, because we do have ideas, we do have some pretty good plans laid out, should that happen. That's why the financials are there. That's why we're discussing a position that could potentially take over snow plowing, some of the maintenance issues here, you know, that with an existing position that's already in the budget, but we're talking through how those things could all happen. So that we're not kind of caught going, oh, what do we do now?
So if they're liable for that and they just don't, what recourse have we got?
That's what I asked earlier.
Yes.
So at the end of the day, we have a contract. There are certain terms that we both agreed to. Absolute worst case scenario, they violate all the terms of the contract. They pull out completely tomorrow. They stop providing all maintenance, paying all the bills and everything. Okay, so they're in blatant breach of contract. I still have to take them to court and get, go through the hearing, present the evidence, get a ruling, and then the court orders what, that they have to provide those services. Okay, so I now have a court order that $5 will get you lunch until you, then. Oh. My official capacity. But yeah, then, do I take the UW system to court for contempt? You're gonna appreciate me putting you in the spotlight like that. And so that's what I mean by planning for absolute failure of this agreement. And again, I've seen that in place. But, the only thing that I could hold them to is the black and white language of the agreement. And
Oh, man.
well, you clear it. But again, the only way that I can enforce that in a worst case scenario is, legal action. It's a month or two until I can get on the court's calendar. Hopefully I have the case prepared by then, but if there's additional evidence that I need to flag, witnesses may need to be made available. Mediation strategy, what that would look like, but suffice to say, it's not fast.
They have lawyers too.
And they educated me, so the people who taught the courses that I would be using there are on call for them. And I'm confident in my education, so what they are, but at the end of the day, you secure a court order, they violate that court order, you have to go back to court to get a contempt, and then there's some kind of penalty there, and then if they pay that, go to court instead of the county.
It's like anybody else on the contempt, it doesn't mean you're automatically a winner.
Right.
You're dealing with the state legislature oversees the UW system, right? And the state legislature oversees the counties, right? Because we're unarmed with that, so it's gonna be
To a degree,
Best case scenario, they just continue to pay, we don't push them too hard. Mr. Window gives us the update on Tuesday, and maybe we'll know more, but we do need to prepare for that scenario.
The only positive coming out of that is you have to buy your mom a lot of papers, because your picture be in the paper a lot.
Yeah. So, you talk about not having a meeting until the chair calls it, which is fine. I just don't want any of that perception, and I don't want, I like to see things moving. And from my perspective, I like seeing a date set, and if it doesn't work, then you cancel it. This doesn't sound like everybody else's view. That's just usually how I run meetings. We get out there, we set a date out, and if it doesn't happen, fine, then we set another one. So we know we're always moving forward. That's just my perception part, manage things, but I would throw that out.
Setting the date mid-October.
My suggestion that you were at, consider doing it immediately prior to the county board meeting in October.
Yeah. It doesn't need be, but we know.
That'll be the.
We'll have some answers at least on the trees.
You got Clipper meeting of the county board, it's the 24th.
So we. Hold on.
Yeah.
Yeah, like 6 o'clock.
Oh, great.
All right. So that'll be our next meeting, Dave, 6 p.m. prior to over. And what would we like to be discussing at that meeting? Future agenda items. Trees we talked about potentially. Dates we have.
Dates report.
At this point, I think that's all we're updates and reports.
That's what we have. I'm gonna be added next week then, but yep, at least we know we can throw it in.
Only other thing about I just had on the trees is that, you gotta make sure it's not take 2 or 3 trees. If you're gonna dig them, you dig them. Sure.
We'll have the number of trees and then I'll get the information on the stump as well, so that we can include all of that in the.
Any other agenda items that people think we should have for our next meeting?
We do need to start thinking in time. Well, we don't know yet. I'm thinking about crop rent. That is, who negotiates that? There's more homework for you.
Nobody's ever showed me the agreement.
I don't
If
think
it
there is.
exists.
I can ask the gentleman that's been renting it for 42 years.
What did you ask for?
Crop ground
Oh.
that goes with this property. Which is, it's Mr. Burkhammer up on the ridge, but.
He made the statement that he can't believe in. That's cynical phrase, he had a horse and a cart.
So,
That would again fall under public works if we change here.
Open that can of worms.
well, it's the time, if we or Public Works are the ones that would solicit bids for that crop ground, then now would be, this winter is the time to do it. But you know, where do we find that answer? When you looked at, through that agreement, you let me know about that.
In my copious free time.
I don't remember seeing anything in the MOU about the plan. I think that several months ago, one of the conversations that I had with BW System was that they thought that was already taken care of. But I don't believe that to be the
I
case.
know Mr. Burkhammer is writing the check
Yeah,
to the camp.
and it's going to flat.
Yes.
So it'd be pretty easy if you take the check and you divide it by the acres, you know what you're paying.
Oh, I know what he's paying.
Let's see what happens if he doesn't pay it. What's what are they gonna do? Those fines go-
Well, I think that's where, I mean, it's whether we discuss it here or not, but it,
Yeah.
if we solicit bids for the crop ground and we are not the due party to do that, we just violated the MOU.
We should.
Which we will have more report. My understanding is that Rockland falls under the auspice of the MOU and there we would need their input.
All right, well, that would be something that needs to be done. I mean,
Any other agenda items for this committee?
Did everyone read Senator Markline's latest letter?
I haven't had a chance to look at detail yet.
You read it, you will see mention of his intent along with Tony to draft legislation to give money to Richland County to help the transition. It's not to make us whole,
Right.
to help with the transition. Now, the chances of that legislation happening are probably pretty slim, but
Yeah. it's-
What's his sudden interest in Richland County now? Sudden Howard's. Never cared about it before, and all of a sudden, he likes
It's
it.
been around.
well, I appreciate it.
Item 14 on our agenda is adjournment. Motion. Motion by Gary.
I can't make that motion right there.
Can't believe whatever he wants. So second from Bob Frank. All those in favor? Say aye. And we are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
I did, yes.
Is that good?
I've gone back into radios.
That'd be great. Radios would be good.
Okay.
Do you, are you sure on the timeline?
Fine.